Hi, I'm Catharine Bramkamp, and I wrote the article How to Prep for National Novel Writing Month called Nano is Coming. And I thought I would give you a couple of screenshots and a little bit more explanation as to what you can do to prepare successfully for your National Novel Writing project starting November 1st. So I've done a number of Nano Write More projects, and they have turned into books. Some of them have turned into great books. Some of them turned into something that didn't work out. Doesn't really matter. What matters is to write crazy, to write fluidly, to just get into the project, get into your novel, and just write. And that is the whole purpose of National Novel Writing Month. We nowhere on any of the websites, on any of the chat rooms, will you find somebody telling you to write perfect words. They're just going to say, get in, do it, and it'll flow. I have found that out of 50,000 words, I end up with about 30,000 usable words. So remember that as well. So I mentioned a couple of things in the article that I wanted to share with you, and I will share the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Let me get to the advanced part. I'll share this. Okay. This is my Scrivener file. So I wanted to share the Scrivener file with you. I like Scrivener because it is divergent. There's a snowflake theory as well for writers, where you start with snowflake, you start with a core plot point, and then you gradually move it out like a snowflake in various parts, and you have a novel. You can do or create outlines. I have many friends who outline their plot. They know exactly what they're doing. There's 10 points. You have inciting incident. You've probably heard of this. You have the the choke point. You have the middle, the mushy middle. I like to start, especially with the Nano project, I like to start with Scrivener, which is built on writing everything that you have and want to do up here, labeling them by scene, not by chapter, as I mentioned, so that I can figure out what I was writing, and then rearranging them at the last minute. That's like that. That's just before I put an actual draft together. For Nano, it's all about the scenes. So I mentioned that I cobbled together a book cover so that I would have something to look at, something to say, oh, this is real. This is my book cover for this third book. So this is third in a series. And I took the image of Vic Gardner from book 2, which is Deep Trouble, and used Canva, took her out, put her up against another spooky house. This one's in Ireland, and then slapped on the title, slapped on my name. Voila! Now I have a rough estimate of a book cover. When I'm working, and when you work on your project, I recommend filling out your characters, making your notes. Okay, so, and I've got a number of characters. I keep adding them. I may not use all of them, but I want to keep track of them. If you are writing a second, third, fourth book, what I do, and what I probably will do in the next couple of weeks, is to go back to the Scrivener files from my previous books and pull out those character files. So, like, for Vic, who's our heroine, Nick, who is her love interest, Vic and Nick, I know. Helen, who's a new character. What I will do is, Helen is a new character, so she's going to have a different, I'm going to fill in her a little bit more complete. Vic is just some questions about what her motivations are now. And what I will do is I will pull in some of the previous information I had on the character. This does not give you more words unless you throw them into the body of the work. But even at this point, it's a lot of backstory that I probably won't put in my novel. So those are your characters, which I would fill out. You have your places and time. Those are good to put notes in, but here's where you can set yourself up for your 50,000 word marathon is in your chapters. So you can have just a few lines, which is what I'm doing right now. You throw in a few lines, Vic meets Helen, and I think about what those two characters are going to sound like. Maybe some dialogue comes to me. Let me see, I've got really briefly a moment that I thought would be funny in a scene. Not a lot of words at all. Not a lot of information necessarily, but what this can do, let me see if I've got, yeah, you see I've got 1 or 2 lines. Madison arrives, she's the love interest of a nephew. She is just a little bit right there. What this does is, as you populate it, and I've got a couple of things, inciting incident. See, I've been influenced by my friend C.S. Lakin, who says, what's your inciting incident? And so it's like, I don't know what my inciting incident is. Not yet, anyway. What this does for you, even if you have one line, is that you can consider it as a prompt. So when you go into Nano, when you say, okay, here we go, it's November 1st, I am going to start writing, you're not starting from a blank page. You've got some ideas that you've been scribbling down that now you can just say, all right, I'm going to write all about this scene. I'm going to write about the next scene. I'm going to, oh, suddenly I have a third scene coming out of the first scene. You understand the process. So that's what I do to create and give myself an edge, start myself on my Nano journey. And it has really worked for me, which is why I want to share with you. So let me show you how much. There we go. So this is how much I write in the headlines for these scenes. Why do scenes? Well, when we switch over to, let me go to chapters. There we go. When you shift over in the program, let me make these a little bit, well, it doesn't matter. You get your cards, right? With the headlines, with starts on the, with moments on your 3x5 cards. So you can start moving them around and you know what you're moving. I did this once where I actually did put down chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It was a nightmare because I kept having to open it up, say, what did I say in chapter 1? Because I don't know yet, not at this phase. Once you put everything together and you put these scenes into chapters, then you start with that first draft where you have it all laid out. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure. But even then, I like to go back to my Scrivener and start moving things around because it's just easier, and it will be easier on you for doing it, to do it this way. So let me come back to me and we will finish up. There I am. I'm back. So use your whatever format you like to use. As I said, Scrivener is, I think, $45. It's a very handy program. You can use others. So you can run this on Notes, which is inherent in your Mac programs. I have a Mac, so that's what I know. You can create it with tabs in Word. You can create it with a Word notebook program. So I think in Word there's notebooks. I've used that before with various tabs, so that you can line that up. But what is very helpful when you start your process is to start now, make some crazy notes, promise yourself you're not doing anything but writing 2 or 3 lines about a character or 4 or 5 lines of dialogue, drop them into a place where you can find them easily later. And once you start writing on November 1st, you're starting not from scratch, but from your own notes and your own prompts. Good luck. I wish you the best of luck. I love this program. I love Nano. I think it is hilarious. It was invented because a bunch of guys got together and said, if we told girls we were writing novels, they would be really impressed with us and maybe even come home with us. Then they realized they probably should write a novel so that they were not being that silly. And they did. And it turned into a huge, huge international event. How fun is that? So good luck and have a great 50,000 words in November.